to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It's a scientific fact. You are all up in your face. It's time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. And additionally, welcome to it. Tonight's special episode 325. That is a large number. And I'm very thrilled. It's been a long time since I talked to her last, to bring on Donna Diane of Djunah. We're going to get right down to that shortly. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to do this opening spiel I tend to do. Welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who has toured and recorded for over 23 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect. People who may or may not be household names, but do something very special. This is episode 325. This is your first time listening to the show. All the archives are available at protonicreversal.com for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. And if you'd like to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal and achieve both goals. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please consider subscribing on your application or site of choice. Like the episode or even post a review. All of that helps people find the show, beat the almighty algorithm. And it's just a darn nice thing to do. So, all right. Donna's back. The mighty Djunah, if you remotely pay the slightest bit of attention to the show, and I never count on that. You know how much I love this band. I think that the new record is absolutely fantastic, as is the last record, frankly. And I'm a big fan of this artist. This is Donna's. She's my kind of crazy, and I'm here for it. And here she is now, Donna Diane. Welcome back to the show.
Oh well, it's great to be back. Happy 325.
I thank you very much. Don't look at day over 320. Yeah. Look, you got an incredible record here, and
thank you.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about with it. But I guess not the least of which is I can't believe it's been that long since I've had you on. It seems
I know.
Because everyone's been very busy, I guess. But you know,
I know. Well, yeah, there was a whole pandemic that happened.
Oh, yeah.
That delayed everything for years longer than it should have taken. But we're here now, so
yeah, exactly. We're here now, and that's what matters. So the new record, I'm going to potentially butcher it, which is probably says Femina Furens. Is that right?
That works. I think the proper Latin.
No. That works. Well, Conan, that isn't.
I have this whole thing with pronunciation because there's the anglicized way to pronunciate it. There you go. There's my thing about pronunciation.
You're off to a great start, people. Yeah. Penance beware.
To pronounce it, there's always the anglicized way, then the proper way. So I feel like the Latin way, I'm hoping I'm getting this right, is Femina Furens.
Okay.
But
okay, so then it was more
Femina Furens. It's fine. You say Furens, I say
classic dictionary of the vulgar tongue. Yeah, it's what it is. And I mean, look, the band's called Djunah, and compared to Beat Drun Juel, it flows off the lip.
I know. there is something like in my brain that I have such an affinity for things that are difficult to pronounce or like weird because I love obsessively saying them over and over again in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's why everything I do has a weird name to it.
Yeah, it's like, is it the onomatopoeia or like what's the
some of it is that, and like I don't know, some of it is just like I like to go over things again and again until I like get it right or something. I think it's like that part of my brain. So yeah, like weirdly obsessive about meaningless stuff.
well, at least with Djunah, you can just be like, yeah, just the D is silent. Bitch.
Yes. It's really funny how often people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you got Gent, you got Djibouti, you got Django. Everybody can do that. Why do people say Djunah?
Django and Djibouti. Those are the three food groups, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's as daunting as maybe some folks.
Yeah. We actually have had several people that thought we're a DJ called DJ Una.
Okay, that's just hilarious. I'm sorry. Well, and at least you have a one-word band name. Because like
yes, that helps significantly.
Yeah. I mean, people will still butcher it. Don't get me wrong. If there's anything I've learned, people butcher any band name. What if you think that there's something that people won't butcher? I guarantee you they were.
But, oh yes, this is true of human nature. There will always be someone, who comes up with something.
So more having little to do with any of that. This record's you work slowly, but when it comes together, it's absolutely something worth paying attention to, which Femina Furens, I guess it's accents all wrong. The people who speak Latin in the audience are like, oh, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. But you were working on this for quite some time. This is it's been a bit. Like I said, it's been oh God, I guess it was like March of 2020 that was when I last talked to you, and that's when the album before that was done. So tell me about
it's
the gestation period, and I use my words carefully.
Yeah. Well, so because like right after we released the last record, the pandemic happened, and it was like all our tours got wiped out, and I was just obviously in a super bad mood about it. I was just like kind of being a baby, and I just did not want to work on anything new. I just wanted to like sit and pout for a little bit of like, I never got to take my victory lap on the last record.
Right. Yeah.
And then probably about like 6 months into the pandemic, my brain exploded and I got diagnosed with a trauma disorder, which really, I had started working on the record, but it was just like, things were not working, and it was like feeling very frustrating to me. Yeah. And it soon came to light that like, I needed to like understand the disorder and like work through it before I could really move into writing this. Cause the record and the disorder, like, and healing from the disorder are so intertwined. Right. That, it had to happen that way.
So for the people that don't have the DSM on their desk, the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yes. Okay. C-PTSD, similar to the PTSD most people have heard of, except C-PTSD is caused by complex trauma. It's most often like childhood trauma that's ongoing. It's trauma that's sustained and repeated over time is like the formal definition. So just even understanding that and accepting it was probably like the hardest part. Yeah, it is a big deal, especially when you've like gone decades knowing something's wrong with you, but like not ever thinking that was that. And but I'm so glad it happened, because it has totally explained so much about me to me.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, did it kind of fill in the blanks for you in a lot of ways for certain things of like,
It did.
oh, okay.
Yeah, behaviors I have, stuff that I thought was just like, oh, personality quirks about me. I met other people with the same disorder, and I'm like, this is the disorder. This isn't me. This isn't like, oh, I always thought like, oh, I'm a loner. I just hate people or something. And then it made me realize that like, no, I fucking love people. Like people are great. It's just I have like trust issues with them.
Yeah. And that's and I think there's a greater understanding of that now. Like I think that it's
Yes.
it's something that I think a lot of people have an easier time understanding, let alone dealing with.
Yeah. When I first
Hopefully.
posted yeah. When I first posted about it a couple of years ago, like I think like most people hadn't even heard of it. I mean, I hadn't heard of it before like I got diagnosed, and I had to really read a lot about it. And yes, I think because of the the psychological effects of the pandemic, like a lot of people have been learning about what trauma is, what complex trauma, the fact that like a lot of people know what complex trauma is, I mean, that's a great thing because this is something that's gonna move us forward as
Hopefully,
a people.
yeah.
It has to. I mean, because like so much is wrapped into it, like, socially what's going on right now, all these culture battles and everything.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people with pandemic time have maybe if they weren't seriously approaching that or thinking about that, they suddenly had a lot of time to think about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
hopefully that leads to something good. I mean, there's certainly, I feel like I wasn't hearing about like self-care in the same way before the pandemic started at all.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to think I was like, what is this self-care thing? Like, what is,
Right.
like like my care for myself is screaming on stage. Like, that's what I do.
For some people, it's here, and for some people, it's shrieking on stage. Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm like lighting candles, and, like drinking tea, like
right. Totally.
I'm like so like self-care person now.
It is. Well, I think some people had some theories when the pandemic first started that it would force people potentially to reconcile with some of those ideas and maybe take a little bit of a slower pace on stuff. And I'm like, well, a little bit, maybe. Yeah, maybe a little bit. And in some particular ways. But I think that also, I don't know that much change really.
Yeah.
But I think if you're prone to think about such things, I think it did. And what I'm very interested in, and we're going to talk about the record in depth a little later, but how does it affect your writing process? And for people that are uninitiated, you do a lot.
Yeah.
You practically have each body.
Say too much.
Yeah, exactly. No, believe me, no. Like each body part could basically be a band member. Like a lot of people don't realize. No, there's no bass player. That's Donna's leg. Like she built a insane system to not have to pay someone else. I don't know. Like it's. But I know
it's funny. Because like the learning about the disorder like also explained why, because like so much of like healing from a trauma disorder is like full body therapies and really getting out of your head and into your body, and it explains so much about like why playing bass with my feet, guitar with my hands, singing, having sound coming out of all parts of my body, basically, like why that was so attractive to me, and so why I enjoy that as much as I do.
It's almost your default state is sort of like, well, I'll just build something from scratch to do this. Like, well, okay, that you're going to do things the hardest way possible. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
I know. And sometimes that's also a thing about me. Cause it's like, I'm somebody who I want to like deeply understand how things work.
Yeah.
And it's like, I find that it's impossible for me to do that without having to like reinvent the wheel for myself, because when I do that, that's how I like achieve that deep understanding. I know it's like to some people that's like it's so stupid and so insane and what a waste of time, but to me I'm like this is what I love.
Well, you talked about that last time, and I don't remember all the details of it because it was literally years ago, and I made 100 episodes since then. I think it was on hand videos where you're just talking about like tactile things, and you talk about and that like it's like where you kind of naturally gravitate towards. So it makes sense, and furthermore, I feel like in this day and age, it's easier to do that kind of thing than maybe if you're in the 1920s or something. I mean, there's online resources,
True. Yeah. For me, it's like very particular things that I want to learn because there's other stuff too that I'm like, I'm not interested in this. And I just like, don't even want to waste my time on it. Like just somebody just tell me the easy answer. But then there's other things that's like, I want to know all about this thing. I don't know why.
So where's the dividing line of like splitting the atom yourself and just like, I don't need to know that. Like what's because, and I'm genuinely curious because you do a lot of things and you're definitely someone that is on a lifetime path of learning and creation. But are you building your own paper towel roll dispensers? Like what's happening, Donna? I mean,
I do not know how to explain. It's like this thing. Sometimes I'll get like an image in my head.
Yeah.
And then or like not to get like woo-woo, but or I'll get like a word or like a message or something. And then it's like, I have to do this. Like that's how the 7 Winds video came about.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And it's just like, I can't really explain why or justify it in any way. It's just I all of a sudden something comes in my head and I get obsessed with it and I have to do it,
right?
Or it will not let me go until it is done.
Well, I don't think you need to justify it to anybody.
Well, some of the people that find me online have begged to differ. They want to know why I would waste my time doing anything that I do.
Yeah, I'm sure they're up to something great too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and yeah, so that's something. All right, so then you like, so for instance, you did the Can I Touch Your Gear? That was like it seemed like that was a show that you put together like based out of just kind of curiosity and like the fact that you would be basically doing this show anyway without a camera. Right?
No, totally. That was like total, like I love having gear conversations with people and just like it just was so natural. But that was one that the name of the show came in my head one day and I didn't even have the idea for the show. It was just
really?
Can I touch your gear? And then I kept thinking this thing. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Okay.
And then I was like, oh, it has to be a show.
Yeah.
And then I actually shot the first episode was that it was this is a bit of trivia for you. A test episode with Jesse, the bass player from Beat Drun Juel.
Sure.
Yeah, like way back in like 2017 or something like that.
Wow. Okay, so that was kind of kicking around for a bit then.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That was around, and then I didn't have anybody to help me with the show for a really long time. Like I didn't know how to do it, like how it was going to get done, and then the pandemic interrupted it. So it will be rebooted. I guarantee it's going to happen, but I don't know how. I don't know when it's going to happen though. There have been talks, but nothing has materialized yet.
There's certain key aspects of it that kind of need to be the same, but it's not like recasting Wednesday Addams or something. But like, I like that show, but and it does seem to come from a genuine curiosity, and I know that, and we talked about this beforehand, that pre-Djunah, post Beat Drun Juel, it started off literally just you. It was literally just you. Donna, will you tell the people who probably don't know what the name of that band was?
Oh yeah, this was it was called Naked Riding a Lion Made of Fire, and it was something I put together in like a week because I was so desperate to play out after Beat Drun Juel ended, and Jim, who ran Ian's party, like reached out to me and was like, "What's up with your band?" And then I was like, I just don't know. I never do this, but I just started bullshitting, and I was like, "Oh, I have this great solo project that I could play it," and I had like nothing ready, and I like put it together in like a week or two just so I could play Ian's party and just do it.
You're like, how long is it? 30, maybe 40 seconds. Yeah.
I mean, it was literally just playing all the songs I had written in like Beat Drun Juel, like just reconfigured solo.
Yeah.
And then that's how then I was like, well, I guess I could just do this with a drummer and this could be a band. So that's how Djunah started.
Well, and it's when I think when you understand the origin in that way, and the fact that you're like, no, literally, if you want to have some kind of low into it, you know, there's only so many, unless you're Kali, you don't have that many hands to play another.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Well, that's the thing, because I was just doing another interview where I was like talking about like no one sets out to make a band where they're like playing bass with their feet. Like it doesn't like as like the gimmick, like that doesn't make sense, you know.
It's a 1,000-mile walk in the desert for an ice cream. Is what it is.
So I mean, it has, the origin story of it has to be, my band broke up and I was desperate to play my music and I missed the bass, so but I invented this whole thing just so I could like do it myself until I got another band going. So necessity is the mother of invention.
It would appear so, yeah. And so and then you again decided, instead of attempting to build a drum set and learn drums yourself, and at the same time, you decided to have some drums on it. Hence the first record. If people want to hear more about that, they should go back in the archives and they can listen to that show. I'll link it in the show notes as well. But then it becomes a live band. It becomes something that exists within the world.
Yes.
And it clicks. It clicks in a way that people engage with it. People get something out of it. And then it's a thing. It isn't a thing that you're just BSing your way through in a conversation that oh yeah, I got this thing. It's the best thing you've ever heard. It's amazing. I need to make up a thing now. Dang. But it has a voice. And so one of the things I like so much, and I I love the first record, but I think with Femina, you've really laid into what makes Djunah as a creative entity interesting and cool and unique. And I mean, it's hard not to be unique when you're just from instrumentation alone, but I think you really, it's not that you didn't have your voice before, but you've dug a little deeper with it. At least that's from my perception anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this record was literally about voice, I think, way more so than the last record. I mean, that record is definitely like we're a live band. We're gonna get on stage and crush it and dazzle you with all this guitar playing. So this is I wrote a record. I wrote an actual record for a record, not just a live band. Here's a bunch of songs we have.
It feels like it sits together in a way that feels like it should be sitting together, rather than just existing as here's a collection of songs, everybody. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I mean, because even on the first one, I like Yarn. That was originally a Beat Drun Juel song, if I remember.
Yeah, a lot of that record was supposed to be the first proper Beat Drun Juel full length, but we broke up before we could ever do it. And I just I love those songs so much. I'm I need to put those songs out in some form. So
I'm glad you did, but this definitely feels like a fully articulated vision of Djunah as a thing, which isn't not to say the first record does, but this is, again, it's hitting a little deeper. It's digging into different places. It seems to have a real grand unifying theme or themes and visuals. I mean, it's the full package, really.
Yeah, it's amazing how it all came together, because it's I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I had planned, but a lot of it also was just kind of came together in the moment, especially the visuals with the photography. That blew me away. It was when we basically we were going out to Salem to do the record, and then my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were like, oh, you should contact this photographer out in Salem. And I was like, okay, they showed me her Instagram and I was like, well, this is kind of the same vibe. So like literally the day after we wrap recording, like went to do the photo shoot. It was like all such a whirlwind. And then I was like, we were doing like crazy stuff. Like she had me on like a bearskin rug, like doing holding all this like weaponry.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, is any of this gonna turn out and like look cool, or is this just gonna be like a kitschy thing that I did and like it'll just be funny?
Do I have to roll a D20 for this, or is it I just stay here with
totally. And I do have like some of the photos are like so like that, and they're amazing. But like the stuff that we used on the record art, I was just like, how did you make this, and how is that even me? Like I don't even know how she did it, like, which is amazing.
Well, it's so interesting too, because it came, and I know it was coming together for a long time, and you had these visions for this kind of came together, and then this whole AI art boom came out, where where like everybody just gets to be like, oh, like I'm a hot astronaut now. Okay, cool. Like I don't really understand why. And then it's sort of like if you were just quickly doom scrolling as people do, like, oh, it's another AI art thing. And it's like, no, this is an articulated like art piece. This is like,
that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. But you could just be like, what do I look like? It's like a sci-fi 70s sci-fi. Like
exactly. Yeah.
I gotta save so much time and money. Like
warrior
just
prince,
let the AI do it.
Enter. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great. But there is something very unique, and again, I really don't want to get in a conversation about actual artistry versus AI art and whether it can or cannot be art or anything, but there is something that's very unique when it comes from human hands that the robots have yet to be able to figure out. And
definitely. I mean, I feel like there's merits to everything has its own merits, but I mean, so much of what I do, like, I mean, obviously not using any like pre-programmed instruments or anything on stage. Like I do have in my soul just that appreciation for just doing it the old fashioned way, like using technology to help you, but just be like, what can you as a human do, ultimately? Like that to me is the art,
It puts a lot of pressure on too, though, because there's stuff still fails.
Oh yeah, but like it's, to me, that's part of it, like the warts, like the imperfections, the fact that like we're gonna play it, we're not playing to a click, so we're gonna play it too fast sometimes, or we're gonna play it slow, or I'm gonna be tripping all over my bass thing and have bass flubs all over the place. But like that's, I don't know, to me, sometimes I like have this like out of body thing with it where I'm like, that's part of the charm of it. It's just like, we are not perfect. We're normal people. Like we make mistakes, but we're having such a good fucking time doing it. And it's real and it's authentic. Like that's what I like to see when people get on stage. I don't want to see
not someone pushing a button on the laptop and then
I don't want to see that and like the perfect light show and everything's all choreographed. I mean, some of that stuff, like I shouldn't say like all, because some of that stuff is cool, but like you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that all the time. That would be boring.
No, well, and there's very much the act of doing it seems to be part of the production of the art, like, which is traditionally speaking the only way you could do live performance. But I think like a lot of people have sort of have this new different idea of like, what does or doesn't constitute that. But like, again, you're dealing with a bunch of things. You're like playing a guitar lead and then also playing the bass at the same time, and like, maybe remember the lyrics for whatever happens next. All of that is like going on at the same time. Yourself like, oh geez, I'm doing a lot right now.
I know, like, it's funny because it's like there are sometimes that I do feel like maybe I should not do this, but then other times I'm just like, sometimes it's difficult for me to play guitar without having a bass pedal board.
I guess you don't have
around
to worry
me
about
now,
your timing,
which
right?
is weird.
Yeah.
Like stuff has like shifted in my brain where it's, you know, sometimes it like wires have been crossed, things are intertwined. So, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's, I don't know, it's just like a weird thing that I guess I just gotta kind of like see it through. And then one day if I'm just like,
I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I think it's amazing.
no,
I'm
trying to talk myself out of it.
Yeah. It's just I mean, I don't know anyone else that puts that level of effort into it. Just top to bottom, like, you know, but for a holistic standpoint of just people talk about artisanal crafting. It's like, Jesus Christ, you know nothing about it.
I don't like, but that to me, that is so me. That is what I enjoy about it and why I do what I do. Cause it's like, I like having that really personal connection, not only to what I'm doing, but also like the people that I'm interacting with like fans and, you know, it's just like the personal emotional connection. I would not do this if I couldn't have that with myself and with other people.
Well, and you got like the postcards and stuff and like the handwritten messages and things. I mean, like just this whole freaking Etsy store of extra.
I know.
You know, like, I mean, great. That's awesome. I mean,
the funniest thing about this is I am not a crafty person outside of that. Like if you see my house, I don't have it like expertly decorated or like,
knitting corner and this is my
yeah. Sometimes I go to other people's houses and I'm just so jealous that they're just so, you know, like for me it only is just like very specific things where I'm like, I need to make this like scratch and sniff poetry chapbook. Like, how the fuck am I going to do that? I don't know the first thing about any of this, but I'm just going to figure it out, you know, because I have to make it.
I mean, well, and it seems to be working out okay. I mean, it's definitely, you know, it's funny that it's funny you say that too. And so much of the world seems to be like set up in such a way that to devalue the individual artistry, yeah, art, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, and sort of make everybody like tacit consumers of like, you know, whatever is the thing that's being pushed at that moment in time. And it's, I think that there's something to be said. There's utility as well as like value and joy to making things. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I love when there's something to look forward to, when it's something unique, it's something special and limited. And, you know, those are the things I like. So those are the things that I want to create for people also. Because this is me being like, this is my fantasy world. This is my, like, all the little thing. I want to make this like crazy breastplate and I want to like write thank you notes. Like, I don't know. It's just like, that's just what fills my heart with joy.
I mean, making your own world pretty much. And that brings us back to the art actually, which is great because I was going to segue back over that too. That I mean, it's quite the vision. Like, I mean, it's and that was before the video. Well, that like was like, oh, all right, this is a record cover that would get it. Like, I guess I don't know if people are going to the record store or not, but it gets attention. You're gonna be like, what's that? Like, you're not going to be like, whatever, that looks like everything else, because it does.
I know people, when we put out the video, people were like, you already had my money. Like, what? Why are you doing this too? And I'm like, oh, you think I'm doing this for you? No, I'm doing this for me. The video is just like me. We made like a giant like terrarium jungle that I got to play around with on video. Like that was all for me.
It's like single, like I think I said like single-handedly rebooted heavy metal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I can think of. All right, this is as a goof, sure. But I mean, you've got a unified theme with it that makes sense to you and ties into like the music and the lyrics and whatever. As to how much people will connect that up or connect to it or whatever, who knows? No one can ever tell that, but it's all there. It's all something that it's right there.
Yeah, like that's the thing that I feel like with this record, that if you just want to come at it and be like, oh, looks cool, oh, sounds great, you know.
Yeah, which is out.
Like if you
some people
just interact with
really
it.
need. That's all
Yeah,
we need,
like,
and that's
yeah,
all we're looking for. Okay, great.
yeah, kick ass, like cool, done. Then you could enjoy it on that level. If you're somebody like me who like really likes to get into like meaning and everything, it's all there. Like there, I could go on and on about for like an hour on like every song and the different choices I made. And
Well, luckily you're in a show that
words.
goes on and on
Yeah.
for hours, so we can talk about it. Which I suppose is as good a time as any to try to get into it song by song for it, because there is there's a lot here. Again, but the point is, it's there if you want it. It isn't like, you know,
Yes.
wallop
Yeah.
over the head with it. Whack. You know? So let's do this. So we'll go through each of the songs on the record.
Oh, this is the first time I've done this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're doing it with me. Femina Furens, and you can talk about anything you like with it. You know, the where the song title came from, lyrics, musical ideas, recording, where anything along those lines, whatever strikes your fancy. I know there's a lot to it, so I'm not going to try to lead you anywhere with it, unless I do. Maybe, but we'll see. So, first song, Grooming.
Yes. So this one is so funny. This was one of those downloads. Like I have it's a very short song. It's only 3 lines. I have the title and the lyrics. I had those kicking around for months. And I knew it was just going to be like a short, like 1 minute type song. I like doing those every now and again. And it's so funny now. I did not know what it was about. And I kept thinking, this is how the brain works when it like blocks you from certain things. I kept thinking, because it's like, when it's over, I want to see you wash your face. And I kept thinking about this couple, like, like one of my favorite, not to get too personal, one of my favorite moments, like after like you have sex, is like when you're like washing up in the bathroom together. So I've seen like this couple, like they're like looking in the mirror, like while they're like washing up. And it's like this like thing. So I tried this song so many ways. I've tried it like quiet and like sexy, like I tried it every way and nothing was working. And I was like, this was so weird. So I had just gotten done with my trauma program and I was watching this show that I'm blanking on the name of. I think it was just called Teacher or something. It was about
if it's about a cement mixer, I'm gonna be very disappointed, but yeah.
If it's about what?
A cement mixer. It's called Teacher.
So this like older female teacher has this like younger male student.
Oh,
and
okay, I know what you're talking about.
And I thought it was a show about like, oh, they like fall in love, but it's like forbidden love or something. And then like in front of every episode, they were like, this contains scenes of grooming. And I was just like,
sure, yeah.
My brain, it's so obvious, but it was like my brain was like struggling to understand. And I was like, I had to watch like the whole series. And then at the end of it, the guy's like tells her, because like basically they start up this relationship and it's this whole thing. And he's like, you ruined my life to this woman. And I was like, oh, I thought they were in love the whole time. But then I realized like she had been exploiting him. And then I was like, I know exactly what the song is about. And I just went into my office, which is this, and I just yelled out the song exactly like it is on the record. Like, cause I knew exactly who it was about and what had happened. And it was just so funny that my brain was like, but my brain was telling, like, I was just so convinced it was about love and it was not about
it totally wasn't.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the long the explanation for that song was longer than the song itself. So
well, yeah, because it's a short banger, right? Like it's a quick one, but
it just kind of like sets the tone for the record.
And especially, I mean, and now it's just like there's just like accusations of grooming when anybody does anything as well. I mean, it doesn't make it not real. I'm just saying that like it's like I feel like everybody is all you hear about is like, oh Jesus, okay, again, okay.
Right. Well, and this is like another thing, like when this was now like 2+
And there
years
is
ago
actual
that I
grooming too. Yeah, but I feel like it in the last year, like I feel like it's just used as an insult now, where it's like, well, you're okay.
Well, I have so much to say about this too. Is having
I don't want to take us too far down the line with that, but it's I
Right.
know you came up with this before that. Again, before the AIR thing, but before.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like part of this is like we cut this record like over a year ago, and it's taken so long to come out. The stuff has gone by. The conversation has changed, but like, yeah, I have so much to say about that too. Like having a post-traumatic stress disorder, and like so many of the terms that like have very important meaning, like gaslighting, triggering, those have actual meanings to people like me, and they've just become like internet terms for like, oh, if somebody's doing something you don't like, they're gaslighting you. It's like, no. Like gaslighting is like a real thing that happens. That's not that.
Yeah, and that's that's like language changing and the meanings of language changing. Like it's certainly not new, but it certainly seems to happen a lot faster now.
Yeah, I mean the internet just like can very readily empty words of meaning, of like relevant meaning.
Yeah.
So you just kind of gotta stick to your own and what you know is true and what words actually mean.
I think that was it Kate Mara that was in that teacher show. Is that right? She was in like House of Cards.
I'm so like bad with actors' names. Maybe
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it's called A Teacher, if I remember correctly. I remember that it happened, and I didn't watch it. I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know that it was a particularly good show, but right around the same time, I did see this movie with Laura Dern, who I love. Like Laura Dern, just like the greatest person ever. I think she is.
Yeah.
She was in a movie that was like a true story for the director. Remembering back to it was very similar, but remembering back to this relationship she had when she was 13 with this like older man, and she had spent her whole life convinced that like they had this like special love for each other. In the movie, she realizes what actually happened and what he did to her. And it is that, and I'm blanking on the name of that movie. That movie is fucking good, but it is so, you will
that sounds intense.
Die crying watching it, but it's Laura Dern, so it's all worth it.
I got a lot of time for Laura Dern. Let's put it that way.
Oh my god, she's at like, there's like 3 people I could meet, she would be one of them. I just want to like, hang out with her.
She rules. Okay, so that's grooming. So that's the kickoff song again. It's the short banger, but okay. Yeah. So that's it. Faithon.
Oh, this is another pronunciation one, because the anglicized way is Phaeton.
Okay.
But I feel like and I should know this, like being married into
you're the one being
Greek.
Asked about it. Yeah.
I think the Greek pronunciation is Phaethon. So,
okay.
But I say Phaeton. That's what Webster's has it as, so I'm going to say Phaeton.
Like if you go to the website, like, how do you pronounce this word?
Yeah. Well, I'm an editor, so anything, if Webster says, it's whatever Webster says is gospel.
Right.
To me.
Right. All right. Well, what's the gospel of this song? So this the second song.
So
we know how to pronounce it.
This is one of my favorite poems on the album. All the songs on the album started out as poems. I mean, there's like a fine line between like lyrics and poetry anyway, but a lot of the songs on the album started as like formal poetry. So this is Phaeton is in sonnet form. So the original poem is a traditional 14-line sonnet. It's in blank verse, so it's unrhymed, except for the couplet at the end. And it tells the story of Phaeton, who is the son of Helios, the sun god. There's a lot about sun gods on this album.
Right.
And the myth that Ovid tells in the Metamorphoses is that it starts like Phaeton's like on the playground, and this kid comes up to him and is like, he's like, oh yeah, my father's the sun god, and this kid's like, no, it's not. No, he's not. Your mom like lied to you, and like this like shame comes over him, and he like goes to his mom and he's like, have you been lying to me about my whole life about who my father is? And she's like, no, like journey to the palace of the sun and ask him yourself. So he does, and Helios is like, yep, you're my son. Which like, what a thing for like a father to be like, you're God. Like, where the fuck have you been? Like,
I'm bad. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, this guy's the worst dad ever. Like, he has no excuse. He's a fucking God. Like, come on. And he's basically like, I'll grant you
he's
any
a
wish
deadbeat
you
god,
want.
is what he is. He's a deadbeat god.
Exactly. Yes. He's basically like trying to buy his son's love. I'll grant you any wish. So Phaeton's like, yeah, I want to drive your sun chariot. This is what Helios wakes the world with every morning.
Yeah, he wants the keys to the car. He wants to,
Yes. And Helios is like, oh, well, that's going to kill you if you do that. And then he's like, this is what I want. So he's like, okay. Then he's like, okay. Because like, again, great dad.
Yeah. Like, okay, you talked me into it. What?
Yeah, he's like, well, I did. He's like, literally in the Metamorphoses, he's like, well, I did say I'd give you anything you wanted, so I guess I have to.
Wow.
Like, worst dad ever.
Yeah. Wow.
So then, sure enough, he drives the sun chariot, loses control, tumbles out of the sky, scorches the earth. Zeus has to strike him dead with a thunderbolt, and it just crushes his father. So like it's usually a story of wait, what?
As if only there had been some way to stop it. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. So it's just basically like my version of it in this song is that this is really Phaeton's revenge against his father. He is so, aggrieved from like, no, because this is very true. A son who has no father growing up, like that, it deeply, deeply affects you. And I feel like this is his way to like matter to his father and be like, he goes out in this blaze of glory and his death is on his father's hands. And it's very dark, but like, I don't know, just on the subject of childhood trauma, like that, I don't know, that story always resonated with me.
No, that's an intense one, to be sure.
Yeah.
And I think that, and it's the whole thing is people learning by allegory and learning by myth, right? Sometimes it was like moral lessons or whatever, but some of those early myths go hard, man. That's all I gotta say about it.
Oh yeah. I like ancient Egyptian ones are awesome because they're like super fucking weird sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like,
There's always
eat this guy's semen and like what? Who came up with that?
Fortune will come to your family. What? How are those things?
Yeah.
All right.
Like then he masturbated on this guy's salad.
Yeah.
He had to eat it.
Be
Like
right
that's
back.
literally a myth.
Be right back. Gonna remove my heart for a minute. Okay. Cool. Have fun. Let's know it works out. Oh, okay. Cool. So that's fair. And you got that who reigns the reigns.
Yeah, I mean, in a larger, there's like a lot of these like horses, chariots, sleighs on the album as sort of like this metaphor for emotional regulation too, because this is like with C-PTSD, it's primarily an emotional regulation disorder. It's a thing where even like good emotions can be really intense for me if I'm not like really doing my tools and everything. Like joy or excitement can turn into like debilitating anxiety, very quickly. Obviously sadness can turn into depression. Anger can just turn into like world-ending rage. you know? And so, yeah, that line, the who reigns the reigns, reigns the reigns. It's like, it's such a statement, not only in that thing of like power to his father, but also, you know, just to me more generally, it's just like, who reigns the reigns? Like
Who's in
who?
control? Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
am I gonna let like what is going on in my body right now control my mind, or am I going to use everything I got to make sure like my mind is like controlling my body? Because this is like with C-PTSD, it's such a body thing that like that's something a lot of people don't understand with trauma disorders. It is your body telling you there is an emergency right now, and you have to use your mind to like calm that, and to not listen and not take what it is telling you as fact.
Absolutely. So then, no, that's I mean, I don't need to add to everything. That's very well said. Hallway is the next song.
Yeah, Hallway is an interesting one. I've actually had that song around for a while. That one, it's so funny because this is another one where I had the lyrics and I didn't quite know what they meant. When I was going through trauma therapy, I had this therapist who was kind of like a Jungian. He like believed in dream interpretation, which I've never had a therapist do that. And he was like, if you have a dream, bring it in here. And I was just like, a dream? I don't like dream interpretation. Like, come on. And it was crazy because a couple days later after he said that, I had this epic dream like I've never had before. It went through so many phases and I remembered every single part of it. And it ends. Well, there is like this like moment where like I get into this, I'm being chased, and I get into this elevator with like these other people, and we're stuck between like the 5th and 6th floor. Because in that song I talk about like 5, 6, 8, and later I realized that was like ages when things happened. And like this was really blowing my mind. And then,
oh wow, okay, yeah.
And at the very end of the dream, there's like this long hallway that I was like running down. And like this dream, oh my God, I could go on about it forever. But like that dream actually made the stuff that I had written make sense. Cause that was like one of those, I feel like, subconscious poems where I'm like, what is this even about? And then understanding how the subconscious speaks through dreams, and that like I didn't know any of this, like numbers are actually really important in them. Like that all blew my mind. So
wow.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I've got really into like writing down dreams and like dream interpretation for a little bit after I finished the trauma program, because it was just like, it blew me away, and it made me feel like very close to myself. Like I like was really listening to myself or understanding stuff about myself that we just ignore. That like most of what goes on with our subconscious, we just ignore. It's like an annoyance, but it's actually incredibly important to understand, and like being like a full human, I guess.
No, it's very literal when I've been aching on since 5, 6, 8. That's somewhat literal.
I know, but it's one of those things where I'm like, what is this about? And I'm like, I can't even read the words that I wrote. It's like my brain my conscious mind won't let me accept what it means. It's really weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. This is like another characteristic, not to go too much on trauma disorders, but this is another characteristic, is like people can tell you things and your brain will block them. Like I had to have a therapist like sit down with me. I was like, no one has ever told me what I'm actually diagnosed with. Like, I need you to tell me right now. Like, and she was just like, it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And when she said that, I'm like, I instantly remembered 10 other times people had told me.
Right. But
it was like my consciousness would not accept it or something.
Yeah, maybe you weren't ready to hear it at that time or something.
Right. Yeah, but I know from knowing other people who have the same disorder, this is very common, that it's just like people will tell you things over and over again, but it does not get through until all of a sudden, like one day your brain is just like, oh yeah. I don't know.
So is the hallway sort of symbolic then? Because you have that, everything that I want is tearing me apart line. That's
yeah. I mean, well, like clearly the whole hallway metaphor is like,
it's
towards like suicide, but but it's like that's definitely like what that is about. It's just like trying like moving on to like this place and like making a choice about like which door you're going to go into. Not to get too bum anybody out, but the next song is called "Suicidal on Christmas."
I feel
like that's a good segue.
Yeah, strap in, folks. Yeah. So the next one is "Suicidal on Christmas," which is
this one isn't so dark though, because it ends with kind of like this weird sex fantasy about Santa. So.
I guess he's on the roof. Yeah, who else is going to be on the roof? The roofer? Yeah, good point. Okay.
Yeah,
that's on Christmas. Who else?
When
when
I first wrote that poem, when I finally finished it and I read it to my husband, and he's like, "So are you having sex with Santa at the end of this?" And I was like, "Maybe I am."
And if I was, what of it? Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Sure. I mean,
so this one, the poem is like sort of this like turned around version of A Visit from St. Nicholas, which is everybody knows as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Yeah. There's like lots of lines that like allude to like the visions of sugar plums dance in their head. It's like the stockings were hung with it, like instead it's like the nylons are mantle nailed, my vision goes all to braille, like that kind of stuff. So it's like, obviously playing around with that. But yeah, I don't know, like this was something else that I learned is I always thought I hated Christmas and hated holidays, and this is something that's very common with people with C-PTSD is like holidays trigger like a lot of issue. So like some of my like darkest moments have been like around the holidays, and now that I have that understanding that that's normal for somebody like me, I don't take that stuff as seriously anymore. Like if I get really depressed like around Christmas, I'll be like, yeah, that's just what's going to happen. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I have to do anything about it. It's normal that I'm going to have like these like dark thoughts around that time. And it's actually not a big deal. Like that song is like really taking like a really dark moment and like transforming it into like this fantasy of like Santa's gonna ride in and he's gonna rescue me and we're gonna like go in his sleigh and we're gonna fuck.
It's what every department store Santa dreams of.
Oh my God. I feel like I shouldn't even talk about this, but that when you said that reminded me of like the only time I've been to Mardi Gras. Like this was like when I was 21 or something. A friend of mine and I were like at college and we're like, let's just drive all night and like go down to Louisiana. We get there. It's like, we're dead tired. We're walking on the street. It's like 1 p.m. and there's like a guy dressed as Santa. And like, I'm an idiot. So I was like, Santa. And then of course this guy's like, have you girls been naughty or something like that?
In development. Yeah.
And then I'm like, Sarah Connor in Terminator, like slow motion, like, no. And he like pulls out, he has like like his, what is Santa's bag called?
Like a sack, right? Bag. I don't think it's got a proper name that I'm aware of.
And then he like pulls out, I can't believe I'm telling this story. He like pulls out this like vibrator that's like with these like controls on it. And he had like he had taken the controls out of the package, but like the vibrator in there. And then he was like, don't worry, I left it in there like for sanitary reasons. as if we were gonna be like, oh, like yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah, if only. Yeah, wow. Okay, so
I don't know why we were talking about Santa and sex.
I mean, look, it's in your song. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what that gets you. We're busy. Got to relieve the stress somehow, I guess.
So yeah, that was tangentially related. But anyway, that's Suicidal on Christmas, and that song is actually really meaningful to me because it's one of the first songs I completed on the album, and it was
cool. Okay.
It really set the tone for how I wrote that song because it's like the tempo is all over the place, the time signature keeps changing on it, and that was actually me reading the poem aloud and recording it, and then actually composing the music to match the cadence of that, like basically like a poetry reading. So that's why like some of the songs, like Petting is another one that's kind of like that they're so dialed into, like everything is dictated by the cadence of the human voice. And so it's really kind of like the reverse of how a lot of heavy music is written, where like, it starts with like drums and just kind of like builds or like a riff or something. And then like voice is often just like, and just yell some shit over it.
Over here, and that's the song. Okay.
Yeah, where it's like it's not. So to me, this was like a really like an inversion of that writing process where it's like the voice is always going to be the central focus on this record, and everything has to serve it. And if it does not serve it, it is not there.
Yeah, and that is a very different arrangement and writing process for a lot of quote unquote heavy music, for sure. If people don't.
Yeah, and different from the last record too. Like I did not approach it that way. So yeah, this was another thing that was like I want to get good at like that type of songwriting too. It's a different skill set to have.
What is Excelsis? I'm a pretty loquacious dude. That one's
Excelsis. That's from going to church all the time.
Okay.
That's Latin from it's basically like Excelsis is like in the heavens.
Okay. I know Excelsior.
In Excelsis Deo. I think that means God in heaven or something. I don't know. This is like stuff that you sing in church. So that was like supposed to be like, like, oh, I'm in Excelsis, like I'm orgasming.
I got the context clue. Yeah. I never heard the word before.
Oh my God. There's so much about sex on this record that weirdly. That's why this record is so me.
Give the people what they want. That's what I say. Especially if you're Santa.
Yeah. Please, no one ever come to a show dressed like Santa.
Oh my God.
You will not.
Yeah, don't do
Because
that.
actually, Santas in real life, IRL, freak me the fuck out. And I will not like you if you are dressed as Santa. So don't do that.
She's not looking for it. Don't cosplay.
Yeah, this is not an invitation.
All right. So next up is 7 Winds of Sekhmet, which of course is it's got that incredible video as well. A lot going on here. So yeah, so lay it on me with this one.
So Sekhmet is the ancient Egyptian goddess of healing and warfare. I love the mixed goddesses. Yeah. And she's got another story. She's like the daughter of Ra, the sun god. She's basically sent to Earth to destroy mankind. Basically, it's like Ra is another like, bad father who's like basically like, oh, men don't worship me enough. Like, here, let me have a kid so I can like send her down to like do my dirty work. And the best part of this myth is she goes down to like destroy mankind, and she just like, it's a bloodbath. She drinks their blood. She was like one of the most feared and revered goddesses in ancient Egypt. And her bloodlust was so insatiable that Ra has to dye beer red. In some stories, it's with pomegranate juice to trick her into thinking it's blood. So she drinks it and then she passes out. And then he's like, takes credit for saving humanity from her after he sent her to like destroy everyone. It's like these sun gods, they're terrible. They're terrible people.
That's what I'm learning. Yeah, there's in general untrustworthy and disreputable characters. Yeah. Great PR though. Great PR.
Yeah, so that's the story. So the Seven Winds of Sekhmet is like just all about her like rage. It's just a rage song, you know, and this is very like, you know, God sends me. It's my time and my love, and I've come for your men.
Right. So we talked a little bit about the video. How was this one? How'd you figure this one for the video?
You know, it was funny. I was looking, I became very fascinated with this concept of like the divine feminine. This is in like a lot of like, you know, women's circles and like healing circles and spirituality circles. We talk a lot about like the divine feminine. This is all the things about that are generally associated with like women, feminine people that are, you know, society disowns or degrades or, you know, just kind of like, you know, caring, nurturing, you know, things like that, motherhood, you know, like respect for emotion, things like that, that are just generally seen as like lesser than, you know, more masculine qualities of like being rational, you know, being direct, being, you know, these are all like, not to talk in like gender terms, but that's, you know, just kind of how it's posed as. So like I was kind of like looking at like a lot of different artwork, representations of women, and I came across this French artist Kaza who has done some really cool stuff, and it seemed weird to me that like a lot of stuff that he's done was in like early issues of Heavy Metal magazine, which I don't really see as like a bastion of feminism.
I mean, it was almost incidental, right? It was sort of like it got through somehow, and it was like, oh yeah, actually.
Well, because it started. I didn't know this, but it started as a French magazine, and then like National Lampoon picked it up, so they had some of the original like French artists in it, and then I think it kind of Americanized. But he had this really great illustrated story called Virgo that was basically the story. It's kind of like an Eve story of this like space babe that like goes and like finds this fruit and like gets drunk off of like all this fruit. And then you kind of discover that this planet is sending this fruit to like impregnate her, and then she like becomes pregnant with this planet's or the star's baby or whatever. And for some wait, what?
I said Average Tuesday. Yeah.
So basically I just like became obsessed with it, and I was like, this is going to be the video for this song. And I like listened to the demo that I had and looked at the story like 100 times, and I was like, it has to be this. And even previously, I had this image in my head for the pause of the song that I'm like, there's going to be like this dramatic turnaround and like reveal of something. And I didn't know what it was. And then when I saw this thing with like her being pregnant, I'm like, that's it. But I saw that like image like in the video when I like turn around.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But it was like in my mind, there was like a, you know, black hole where like what will be revealed. And I'm like, I'm pregnant with, it's like, I'm pregnant with a weird star baby. That's it. So that's where that came from. I mean, it doesn't really like have much to do with Sekhmet other than this idea of this like divine feminine, this, you know, I like it because it's just like this thing of like, you know, this woman like being herself, just being like fully natural. And she's not doing it because there's like, you know, Adam's there or like, you know, there's no like masculine God. It's just her. She's just like, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat a bunch of fruit.
There's no sun gods
like,
around.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. There's just so often in like comics and illustrated stories, it's like women are represented like as in relationship to men. And this was just like, this is just a woman as an individual, like doing her own thing, you know, having her own escapade, you know, I guess that's what attracted me to it.
Yeah. How, I mean, and it's fits the sort of repeated theme, right? It's sort of like the idea of there being this, you know, forceful femininity that isn't there necessarily as a reaction to patriarchal constructs explicitly, you know,
right.
It's realized human being living in a world and, you know, finding kind of strength through parable and fable.
Yeah. It's just like she is just complete unto herself, you know, and it's like there's no big like fall from grace that happens when she eats the fruit. She just like gets pregnant and then like gives birth to like a new galaxy. Cool.
Like one does. How gross was that thing to eat, by the way? Was it pretty gross?
Oh my God. It was horrible. I knew it was going to be bad. I had made this like crazy Jell-O fruit with like LEDs inside. Yeah. And I had like tried eating it at home, like as a test run.
You made the fruit too. You
oh
also
my God.
made this.
Yeah. It was like this thing. It was funny because I wanted to make this video.
Help. It's okay that people help.
Well, but it's like this weird thing because I'm like, how do I even ask for help on this? Because I'm like, what?
Okay,
like nobody else is gonna think about it as long as I do. Like
yeah. All right.
Some of it just has to be me being wacky.
So it tasted great, right?
Oh my God, it was so bad. That's why I had posted that video of me like almost like barfing on it. Because literally, like, after that was the first time the video I posted on Instagram was hilarious because it was like they could see me like starting to be like, and like somebody brings in a coffee cup for me to like throw up into.
Oh, yeah.
They later got like a huge like Home Depot bucket that they put next to me. So I'd be like, you know, crushing this fruit and then just be like,
so was it the big orange one? Was it like the
wait,
big
what?
Orange? Was it like the big orange one?
Yes, exactly.
That's a lot of vomit.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, I didn't like fully vomit, but I was definitely just like spitting. I did not want to swallow any of it. It was
I was gonna say you probably did not want to consume that. I would imagine. Yeah.
No, it was it's unflavored gelatin, which I don't even like Jell-O in the first place. I think Jell-O and mayo are fucking disgusting, and I don't know why people eat them. But I don't know if it's like a texture thing with me. But like that was how badly I wanted to make this video. So I was willing to eat Jell-O for it.
What gelatin is like? What it's like ground up bones or something? Like what? It's something like really like hardcore.
Yeah, it's like the collagen, I guess, from bone, like when you cook bones that it comes off and then they powder it or something. So yeah, it kind of had, because it was unflavored, it kind of had like that like horsey smell to it.
Oh no, horrible.
It like smelled like sweat. It was like eating like sweat balls.
Gross.
Yeah, it was, I won't do it again, but fortunately I don't need to do it again.
You think it would have been better if you had like flavored it or something, or was it?
Well, so I tried to, but then like everything that I was adding to it was making it cloudy, so it didn't look as cool.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, if I'm gonna do it, you know, if I'm gonna go so far as to eat Jell-O, I might as well just like go all the way and make it the best. Well, because it was funny because when we were doing the shoot, not everybody knew about all my props. So then I bring out these like Jello balls, and they're like, those look even cooler than I had these like other globes, like LED globes that we used. They're like, those look even cooler than that. And I was like, yeah, like I want to be like a Hollywood props person. It was so fun doing that. I didn't know I had those abilities.
It looks amazing. I mean, it's an incredible video. Production value.
Oh, Dave Rentaskis, who directed it, he also directed the Animal Kingdom video we did, and the video for Brother. So he's always been like my video guy, and it was so funny because I went to him with the idea for this, and I'm like, how would we even pull this off? Like, could we do like green screen? And he's like, oh yeah, we could just do it. And he was like so confident about it. I was like, all right, let's do it. And then it proceeded to be like, we worked so hard on this thing. Like I was helping out with green screening, and like there was like a time where I'm like, are we gonna get this done? Because it was so much stuff. But
it's a Hearts of Darkness moment. It's like you're
like, what have we done?
Yeah.
But he knocked it out of the park. I mean, like when I saw the final video, I was like, how the fuck did you do this? He's so good. So all the props to Dave for pulling that off. Fantastic director.
Yeah, great video. And it's another attention getter.
Yeah.
So I mean that's quite a bit. Anything else on 7 Wins before we move on?
Nothing else specific. I wrote a whole thing about it on Instagram, and
there's and I recommend checking for people.
Yeah,
it's pretty in depth. Lopsided. Lopsided is the next one.
Lopsided. Oh, this was another poem that it kind of like goes on, but I was like, the poem must be as I wrote it. Like, I don't care if it's too like rambly in the beginning. Because when we were working on it, when I was working with Jared on the drum parts, like he was like, do you want to like trim part of that down? And I was like, I get it. Like as a musician, it's like, yeah, I get it. It goes on, but I'm like, but everything, it has to be about the words, and the lyrics have to be as is. So I'm like, no, we just have to like do it. We just have to like vibe out on this. But yeah, Lopsided is like, it's actually about like a memory that I have. Oh my God. This is like another sexual thing. I'm like, I feel like I'm like talking too much about this, but well, maybe I'm not going to get like totally, but it's like, it's about like a very early memory of like understanding, like being shamed, like your body being shamed, like for sexuality, and how just like sexual shame, like how that like sticks with you. And yeah, it's like just being, I don't know, lopsided is like a metaphor for just like being, not being imperfect as humans. Like we're just like, not fully whole. There's always something like missing, there's always something that's like incomplete about us. I don't know. That's just what I think about it, like with like sexual shame, like people, there's always like something people are like ashamed about with their bodies. And, I guess that's what that's about.
Yes. It didn't even involve into Santa too. So
yeah. Yeah, there was no Santa on this one.
Well, that one's almost 6 minutes. I can imagine if it was like longer than that. I mean, yeah. Let's put it on a record.
There's no big fantasy at the end of that one. But yeah, I like that song a lot because I love that big ending on it. I really love like layering the synths at the end. That was something like I was just did on this new album where I was like, I'm gonna layer stuff and do multiple guitar parts that I cannot do on stage. And I know I can't. Like I did not do that at all on X Voto. X Voto was only stuff that we could do live.
It
And this
basically sounded
album
like a live show. Yeah.
And yeah, so this record was very much like, you know, me being like, I'm just gonna do whatever the recording needs, and then I'm just gonna reverse engineer it for live and hope the songwriting is good enough that when you strip away those extra guitar parts,
it still works.
It still stands, you know, because that is the measure of like being a good songwriter to me, is like that you can have all that stuff that makes the record sound really full and powerful, but when you strip all that away, the song is still powerful.
Yeah, like what's there after all that is all that
yeah
away.
Yeah. And that to me, like I feel like I really grew as a songwriter, like accepting that and not having the chip on my shoulder of like, no, it can only be like, you know, what a band is live. It can't be all the other bullshit. Like, you know,
right.
I feel like I had like a little bit of that, you know, just because I don't know, I get mad when people have all these like beautifully produced albums and, you know, everybody loves them. It's just like, yeah, but what's your live show like?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
does a song work in a, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I had but clearly I still do chip on my shoulder for like bands who like cannot bring it live. Like they're just not, it's
a bummer.
Yeah, they get this great recording and then you see them live and you're like, what is the like hype about these people? They're like, this music's not good, you know.
I do know, yes, yeah, and that's. But this is like it to me. It seems like the vision for the music as a fully formed and presented entity is so big that it almost be doing yourself a disservice to just, well, just play it like we do live, you know.
Yeah, it definitely called for more than that, and I knew it. Like really writing for the record, then you have to do stuff like that. You can't just be like stubborn. I love being stubborn, but
I was gonna say you're the best at being stubborn. Yeah.
God damn it!
I'm not in a bad way. I'm just saying.
No, that was my stubborn imitation. God damn it!
Yeah. That's good.
Butchering. Butchering. I love. So this is a poem in the style of Gerard Manley Hopkins. Oh, that's what I forgot to say about Seven Winds, Sylvia Plath, but for another time.
Oh yeah, Sylvia Plath. Well, you give her a shout out in the the notes. So
butchering. So Gerard Manley Hopkins was a late 19th century poet. He was a priest actually, and widely, you know, I want to say suspected of, but like it's widely known that he was probably a gay man living at a time where you could not be open about it. And a lot of his poetry reflects these themes, similar to John Donne, a 16th century poet who I think inspired him a lot. That there's like almost this like sexuality around talking about God, you know, as like a coded way to talk about like forbidden experiences, but like you could talk about it as long as it's in terms of God. John Donne wrote this very famous sonnet where it's one of my favorite poems. It is basically the poem ends with like him like begging God to like rape him, basically. Like it's like, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of poets that like sublimate their like sexual urges into like something else other than like what it actually is. So anyway, butchering is in the style. So Gerard Manley Hopkins, he created this whole poetic rhythm called sprung rhythm, which is like, it has like all these crazy rules to it that I don't even think poets really scholars really understand, because it's this whole system of like weird accents. Like he was like the math rock poet before there was math rock. Like he's like this insane rhythm system. And he also created this sonnet form called a caudate sonnet, which basically means a sonnet with a tail, which is, it's the same root word as like a coda, how a coda is a tail to a song. So that's the sonnet itself has a tail on the end of it. And the song does too, has like kind of a version of like a coda to like pay homage to that.
Sure. Yeah.
But the writing of that song is very much in the style of like John Donne via Gerard Manley Hopkins, of like the wrench, rip, rinse, stitch me, like this metaphor of this
very
like butcher really like
active
like wanting it's almost like sexual desire to have somebody just like rip you apart and like
it's like, are we still talking about meat? What's happening?
Yeah, there's some lines that really like blur the mix the metaphors.
No,
people can get into that if they want to. There's a lot there. But yeah, it's just like a big dirgy
the bone
rap
crown
song.
The bone crown is a pretty evocative image too. You know, the ribs.
The which one?
The ribs as bone crown.
Oh yeah.
Image. Merch item too.
Yeah.
Djunah branded bone crowns.
The ribs crown.
Yeah. Why not? People buy
That
anything.
Like not a bad idea. I'll do like a photo shoot. That sounds like a Light Witch type. Photo shoot.
It's not going to be awkward when another band has them at their merch table. You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty
like,
unique.
What the fuck?
God damn it. Not again. What? Really? Cool. So Petting.
Petting. Oh my God. Petting is such like a batshit song. Like the drumming on that is out of this world. Like Jared really...
He rips it on that one pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean, I like that so much because like there were certain things, like I said, I had basically written the album using programmed drums, but I didn't want to like use that on the record. So but there was certain things I like, you know, just like when you're working in a DAW and like you're moving shit around and experimenting with stuff, like you sometimes come upon like drum things that like maybe like a drummer would never
in a million years
do.
Yes. Yeah, never. Dude, really?
Yeah, some drummers just like fucking hate that. They're like, this is so stupid. But Jared, like, he's somebody who's like kind of like, yeah, like I like the challenge of that kind of stuff, or I like translating that into you know, making it real kind of a thing. So Petting is like a great example of one of the songs that he did that he really like made that his own. And it's just like, it's, you know, Petting, it's like very playful, you know, like it's just, it's kind of like Hand Videos on the last album. It's like, there's always like one like weird, it's like a weirdo love song. Like I always have one of those in me that I don't know like where it comes from, but like, you know, have to make it. It's just such an adorable song. And it's just like, it was one of those ones where I'm like, wrote the song and then I'm like, it doesn't feel finished. Oh, I'm going to just like rip a guitar solo at the end of it. And, you know.
Now a guitar solo, yeah.
So like the whole album is not like all like doom and gloom. Like there's some fun moments there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's I think it's it's a nice place for it to be too, where it's kind of like somewhat later in the record, but like not exactly at the end. I think that's a good place for it.
Yeah, because that was one of the ones that we were like, how are we going to integrate this on the record? Like when we were talking about song order, because I didn't want it to feel like it was just kind of like tacked on the end.
Oh, and there's this one too. Yeah. Okay. What?
Yeah. And Jared was also really helpful with that, with like, you know, talking about like somebody to talk through album flow with,
sequencing and all that. I mean, it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some musicians that like just do not care about that stuff, and others that just like geek out over it and really think about it. So
it's true. Raining. Is the one.
Raining. Oh yeah, this is another one that was a poem. It's just kind of like on the subject of marriage. This is another one with like the animal metaphors of like, obviously raining is REI.
Yeah, I was gonna say
ING.
I have to be aware of the fact that it's a not necessarily in the written form, but yeah, the raining in question is not, the rain
Yeah.
falling mainly in the plane. It's it's raining.
Yeah.
REIN.
And that's like even more than just like, actually like reining a horse. Like that is actually like a sport of actually like there's it's like a Western performance thing where you like an event, I guess. I'm like, I'm struggling with the words. Like they do it at rodeos to like show off a horse's skills and everything.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot about that on the album of like these ideas of power and control and like different like treating humans, treating other people like animals and stuff like that. And that one's definitely about like on the subject of like marriage and relationships and this idea of I don't know, sublimating marriage for women into this idea of like being, I don't know, sort of like mastered or, like control, like basically like you're giving up your life to like be a piece of property, which was for so long in human history. That's what marriage was.
That's what it was. Chattel, right?
Yeah. So I talk about it because it's like I actually started writing that poem. This was like a misguided attempt of like I did obviously poetry readings at my wedding because I love poetry. And I like wanted, my husband has like the best sense of humor. I like wanted to like read my own poem on the subject of marriage, which was like going to be this like dark and very ambivalent poem about marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm the worst. Like we were like joking about like a first, like, oh, what's your like first dance song? And like there's this folk song I love that's it's like an old folk song that's Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Awesome. And he's like, he drew the line there. He was like, we're not doing that. So, he won too, because what it ended up being was when the boy's happy, the girl's happy too. So yeah, we made sure to like make lots of gender commentary during this. I don't know. Marriage is such like a weird thing. It's like seems pointless, but then it's also kind of nice. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, raining. I agree with everything you just said. I feel like you got like, I feel like this is kind of a repeated theme. I feel like you have like something almost on each record that's kind of along those lines somehow, or specifically the sublimation thing, right? I feel like that's something you return to. I mean, not like it's atypical or weird or anything. I'm just, it's just something that doesn't get discussed a lot, frankly.
Yeah, this was also something interesting that helped inform the album. When I went through this like intensive trauma therapy program, they part of the education on that was teaching you about the different themes of trauma disorders, which I had no idea. There's like 5 major themes. One of them is power and control, safety, trust, esteem for self and others, and intimacy. Those are like they call them the 5 core themes of a trauma disorder. Those are the 5 areas that people with trauma disorders usually struggle with, some more than others. Definitely power and control is like a big one for me. Safety less so, intimacy less so, trust is a big one for me. Esteem is another one. So that was really interesting to learn that. And then when I was working on the album, I was really seeing these songs coalescing like around how those fit into those themes. In fact, like this board behind me is what I use to like organize all my ideas. So I would just pin up all my like inspiration, like different poems and everything, different notes about the songs. And then I had like stuff kind of organized under like different themes. So that actually, really clarified a lot of stuff for me, or helped me organize the album and like understand the meaning of it. So it wasn't like, what is all this? What am I talking about? What am I saying?
Do you find having the visual helps kind of put it together?
Yes. Yeah. So much of trauma therapy too was learning to get out of your head and into your body, getting the stuff out so you can see it, and like what are the things that you have evidence of, like what are, like writing stuff down is really important, because in your memory it might seem different than it was, like keeping a journal and stuff like that. I would like keep like mood, like an app for like mood journaling, because I would be like, oh, I'm going through like this horribly like depressed period, and then I could see on there, it's like, no, I actually haven't been. It's only been like 1 or 2 days, but it would feel like weeks. So sometimes like stuff like tracking stuff like that is important. So yeah, just anytime I could get stuff out of my head and like onto paper, that was really important, because like there's a lot of times when I'm working on stuff that I'll just kind of lose it and be like, this song sucks. Like this is stupid. Everybody gets to that point where you're just like, what is this song or whatever?
What is music? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes if you have like the papers in front of you, here are the words, here's all the inspiration. Like, oh yeah, this is why I have these like essential oils. I was even like tying smells to songs.
Oh, wow.
And using that as a way to like remember, like, oh yeah, this is like the meaning of the song. This is why I'm doing this. This was the emotion that I felt when I first worked on it. I was like pulling out all the tricks to like get myself to not rip up the stuff because that's another issue that I face is like, and a lot of artists frankly do, where it's just like you have that impulse, that one stage in the writing process where your impulse is just to rip everything up and like take out all the stuff that was good about it and like rewrite it, because you're right. It's just too in your head, so not doing that was important on this album.
Do not shoot it directly into the heart of the sun.
Right.
God's a dick anyway, deserves it, but
I'll dismantle his shit.
So last song on the record, Soft Wood Circle, and again, WOULD.
Oh, this is so I love doing that, like homonyms, or whatever. Like I'm a language nerd. I could like go on about that stuff forever. So that's why I do things like this. This one is this is one of those songs. I feel like every musician has one of these songs where they work on it their whole life. Like it's the song that never gets finished. Do you have one of those?
Yeah. I've had like 3, and I actually did finish one of them, and I was astounded, but it was almost by accident.
Congratulations.
Yes. I have one that I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is the best thing I've ever written, but I'm never going to complete it. So
yeah, it's like this thing, like you're like, the potential of this song, and then you just keep rewriting it, and it keeps like changing forms, and it's like, when is it ever going to be done? Like, when is it ever going to be like what you, and then eventually you just got to like let it go. And that's definitely what happened with this song. Like this one, I started writing the song like literally like 10 years ago. This was the first song when I started playing music again. I started writing, and it's just like the poetry chapbooks I made, you can see like the original poem, the final lyrics are like hardly anything in common with that. Like that one really evolved. And even when we recorded it, Jared and I were like, that was the only song on the album. When we got back first mixes, we're like, we might have to take this song off the record.
Really?
Like,
Wow.
we were just really in our heads about that song.
Huh.
I don't know what was going on with us, but like it was just like a thing where, and there was like a guitar part that I forgot to do. So I had to record it at home and then like
send it over,
email it to Kurt to like put in, and like it felt like a mess. And then at some point we were like, no, this is one of the best songs on the record. Like what?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it at all. I mean, I don't know.
I know. It was just like the weirdest thing, but like that is just so characteristic of that song that it just like it always felt wrong. It always felt like it wasn't complete. It always felt like it was missing something. And that's like kind of what the song is about too. So it's just like this like meta like mind fuck, and I'm so glad it's just done now and it's out of my life and I don't have to like think about it or second guess it anymore.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy how that works, right? That there's some songs that you're like, I can't wait to spend more time with this, and some songs like, thank fuck that's done.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's not that you have any ill will towards it, but it's gone now, and it's a blessing. And you're like, great.
Yeah, some of them are just like, even if they're good, it still feels like this like albatross that's like hanging around your neck that just will never be done until you just like let it go.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, and I'm sure it's different experiences for different folks, but then there's also just like everything's a little smaller when it's out in the world, right? Where you're just like, what was I freaking out about? This is music.
That is always such a danger with songwriting and recording, because you know some bands get so, I mean, it drives like people who record bands crazy, because like bands will get so granular and so in the weeds about shit that does not matter and no one's ever going to hear.
Exactly.
And and you yourself will stop hearing it like a year later. You won't remember any of that stuff, but in the moment, everything feels like the song hinges on like whether this drum hit
fate of the world is
on 2 or 3. Yeah.
Oh well, clearly everything is ruined if this one passage on this one thing that people have to pay attention to. No, it's not true.
Yeah, that's part of, I feel like, the skill of like being a good songwriter, being a good musician, being good in the studio, is like really knowing when to pick your battles on that stuff. And that's a lifelong, thing that you get good at.
You got to know when you just let your kid take a ride in the chariot, even though you know he'll
probably die, but we're gonna let this one go.
Whatever, it's fine.
There'll be other kids.
I'll have other kids. Yeah, exactly.
I am a god after all.
Yeah, exactly. What do I care? So then closing the record off with that, was that something that was that decision an easy one, or
that one, like, it made sense to be at the end. It does feel like a big finale thing.
Yeah, I think it works great.
Yeah, but it was the kind of thing like we were just never sure about it until the record got finished or something. I don't know. It was like it felt like this big question mark that nobody listening to the record would ever think was a question mark, probably.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't sound out of place. It doesn't sound like
it
was fitting. Like it's
it was just like one of those mindfuck songs. Like we just got like so in it. Well, because the drums on the beginning of that was like another drum part that Jared just like
rips.
I had this kind of like fucked up thing I wanted to go on during the beginning of part of that song, and he was like, yeah, and he just like really drilled into it and made it his own, and it's so cool the way that the drum pattern evolves during that. Like, yeah, it fit with the whole theme of like circles and cycles. So
so there you go. That's Femina Furens. That's Djunah with a D if you're listening.
Yeah.
.bandcamp.com. And you can get, I guess, the second pressing. Is it you're creeping up on that?
Yeah, well, we still have some black vinyl, but I'm not like making a big deal about it because like I want to have some to take on tour. But yeah, I'm like running low. So I have second pressing in the works. You can pre-order. We have some really cool variants for that. You can pre-order that. That's going to be Smash Plastic is doing that for end of August, beginning of September, most likely, because the vinyl's taking so long now. But
sure is. And then if you you got some shows. You're playing.
Yes. Oh my God. Thanks to you. I have West Coast. Conan helped me immensely. So we have some like Midwest, down south at the end of the month, kicking off like the record release tour. Then we're going out east in April, and then end of May, early June, we're going out West Coast, coming back through Texas. And yeah, this was like, you know how it is with booking. Like, it's just like, you never know what you're going to get and what it's going to be like out there. And I feel like the sun gods were smiling on me. Like, stuff came together. So many people helped me out on it. And we just like, I'm so excited to finally, because we really haven't gotten to tour because of the pandemic happening.
You were gearing up right as the world shut down.
Yeah.
What it seemed like.
So this is, it's a lot of dates, but knowing that like Djunah has been around since 2018 and has never toured, like it is time to do a tour like this.
I agree. And I urge anybody who's a fan of the show to go see y'all play, because it's a great show. So
yes, the big record release, Chicago record release, is going to be March 24th. The Empty Bottle. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. Donna, always great talking to you. I can't believe it's been so long since I've had you on.
I know. This was great. It was so good talking to you.
It won't be 3 years for the next time.
I hope not, but I don't know. Like we established, I can be kind of like slow about stuff. It's quality over quantity.
Quality over. I was just gonna say it. Donna, love having you on. Love everything you do. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Last thing, only canned question ever asked on this show. Why do you do what you do?
Oh my gosh. I want to go back to the last episode and see what I said last time.
I don't remember.
And if I'm going to say the same thing.
I do too many of these. I don't remember.
I know. I know. Everybody has a different answer. I would say my current answer is I do it because it just like, it makes me feel whole. I love creating. I love connecting with people. And it fills me with joy. It fills me with joy, Conan.
Fills a lot of us with joy. So thank you for doing it. Yeah, it's a great record. Thanks for doing it, and thanks for all that you do. And I'll post links to it in the show notes and all that good biz.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Anytime.
You're the best.
I'm okay if you're into that kind of thing. Take care, Donna. Thanks.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
There she goes. Donna Diane of the mighty Djunah. Go get Femina Furens. Djunah.bandcamp.com. It's great. If it's not my favorite record of the year, it's gonna be damn close. It's pretty astounding. Let's listen to 7 Winds of Sekhmet right here, right now.
all life as you know it, stopping instantaneously in every molecule.
All right, so that was Seven Winds of Sekhmet from the mighty Djunah. And that's a hell of a record. I highly recommend that you check it out. It's a good one. You can get it Djunah.bandcamp.com, as well as Voto, the first record that's on there as well. I think she's a new pressing of those. Yeah, go see them play. You can find all of their dates are on their Bandcamp page. It's a song kick. Playing all over. Hell of a band, hell of a time. Great live show. Playing Caterwaul this year as well, amongst many other awesome places. So, hey, the name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. This show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. YouTube, Twitch, Radio Nope, RadioNope.com. All the archives are available of all these shows. ProtonicReversal.com. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you do like the show and you want to support it and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. Easily achieve these goals. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please consider subscribing on your application or site of choice, liking the episode, or even just posting a review. All of that helps folks find the show, beat the almighty algorithm. It's just a darn nice thing to do, really. Lots of good stuff coming up. Thanks so much for sticking with me, sticking with it.
50,000 watts of power.
Go see some Djunah music. I feel like I said that earlier, but I'm gonna stand by my assessment. You know, as always, stay safe out there.
This microphone turns sound into electricity.
And check you later.
Can you hear me now? Out on Route 128, in the dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See in the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency, hey, hey!